and welcome back to the United Stand. It is Monday morning and it is a huge week for Erik ten Hag. We've got the Carabao Cup, we've got obviously the Premier League back on Saturday, and it's Crystal Palace double whammy at home twice in 1 week. Some people would think maybe that's a little bit of a bore fest, but it's actually a huge week for Manchester United because we need the 3 points in the league desperately, and we also need to continue in this Carabao Cup. I mean, the Carabao Cup, if we were, doing well so far this season, we had a lot of points on the board, I wouldn't be too bothered about it, but this could be our only chance at a trophy this season, and it's something that we definitely have to try and win on Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, the games are coming thick and fast. I still feel like, Burnley was literally, it feels like yesterday, it nearly was yesterday, it was like 2 days ago, and tomorrow we have Crystal Palace at home. It is wild, but as you can see by the title, Reguilon permanent deal, I can see there's a poll already going on in the chat. We're going to discuss that. Fabrizio Romano saying that Manchester United have been very, very impressed with Sergio Reguilon so far. Are we getting too carried away? Is it Man United just being reactionary as per usual? We'll talk about that. If anyone watched the fan forum with me, Double A, Kev and Faz, you will have seen me have a bit of an argument, a bit of a debate with Double A and Faz over Sergio Reguilon or Malacia, but you've got to talk about the context of things and if the form can continue over 3 games. Going to be talking about rotations, Binder getting his debut for Manchester United on Tuesday, new keeper, maybe some people, if he has a good performance, might want to see him compete with Onana, who knows. Also, Mason Mount training this morning in full team training, looks like he is coming back, so some good injury news for us there. Varane as well, hopefully, coming back into things. So we're going to discuss all of that. And yeah, let's get into the show. Huge week for Manchester United and a huge week for a few players as well. Garnacho, Palestri, Martial, Mason Mount, Amrabat. I expect all of them players to take their chance on Tuesday night and try and work their way into the starting 11. But let's get into things, everyone. I mean, guys, good morning. It is Monday morning and I hope you have a good one, but let's get into the news. So it is coming from Fabrizio Romano that Manchester United staff are very happy with Sergio Reguilon on and off the pitch. He has a great attitude and understands what Erik ten Hag is asking. He has had a very good impact. Ultimately, you've got to look at this. I know a lot of people are saying, I've heard Faz say it, I've heard a few people say it, well, he's only playing well because he's playing for a contract. And I'm like, well, what's he supposed to do? Just not try and not play well? Like, obviously, you've got to question whether he's going to be able to continue this and whether he will continue this. But a good attitude on and off the pitch is a massive plus for me. And I've got to say, guys, if you remember when we signed Reguilon, I wanted Cucurella instead. I didn't want Reguilon. I didn't think he was very good at Spurs. I thought he was not going to be a good signing for us. And sometimes you've got to sit back and say, you know what, you are starting to change my mind, and you really are changing my mind, and you're proving me wrong. And I've said before, it is only 3 games. Or is it 4 games now? It's 4 games after Burnley. There's, a few games that Sergio Reguilon's played. What's he played? He's played against Bayern Munich, he's played against Brighton, and he's played against Burnley. So yeah, I think it's 3 games that he's played. And it's a big if on that. If Reguilon can keep up this form, if he can, play really well in the derby at the end of October and kind of keep City on lock, if he can continue this form and play at this level, I do think there needs to be questions asked about if we should be keeping Reguilon. Because in my opinion, I think he's shown more in the last 3 games than what Malacia has shown for us. And that doesn't automatically mean get rid of Malacia. Luke Shaw is very good at left centre-back. You can kind of rotate players in and out, and there's so many games to be played, and we know about injuries. But I think Reguilon really is kind of knocking on the door for a contract if he continues to play like that. And I honestly, I've got to put it right out here and say this. I wouldn't give him a contract in January, even if he continues up until January. I'd extend the loan until June. I'd ask Spurs, and Daniel Levy's an awkward one to kind of talk to, isn't he? But I'd ask Spurs if I can extend the loan until summer, and then in the summer I'd say, if you've played this well all season for us, and obviously Luke Shaw's going to come back in, it's massive competition for Luke Shaw, and we know how well Luke Shaw plays with good competition. Like, it's not the best thing on earth, but Luke Shaw plays better when he's got good competition. So that competition, I think it's much better competition for Luke Shaw, Sergio Reguilon than Malacia, to be honest with you. And it's just because I think he's more complete. He gets forward really well. He can do the role that Erik ten Hag wants him to do really well. And Malacia can do the inverted fullback role too. But I just think Reguilon the last 3 games has just looked at a higher level for me. So I'd be looking to extend the loan until June. And then I think to myself, then should we make it a permanent? Then has he got what it takes? But we'll discuss a little bit more in a second. I want to get into the chats by you guys. So We've got Ray S saying, I've wanted Reguilon for years. I like him a lot. I really like what I'm seeing so far. I really like what I'm seeing. So you guys so far in the chat, we've got over 2,000 votes. So keep getting your votes in, everyone, and hit a like on the video as well. Huge week for Erik ten Hag. Should Reguilon sign a permanent deal? We've got 45% of you that say yes and 55% of you that say no. And I think, you know, that's very, very obvious that was going to happen. Like, it's really obvious because, you know, you've not had enough yet. You've only had a little bit of a taste. You don't know whether it's going to continue. For example, let's be analogy bridge. Let's be Beth Bridge. Let's be analogy bridge. And I've got an analogy. It's just popped into my brain right now. You know what you say? You know, you spend certain time around the same people, you start picking up habits. So I've got an analogy for you. It's like when, you know, you're just starting to go out on a date with someone. Like, you're starting to date someone new. You've been on a few dates with them, you've been on, what would I say, 3 dates with them, and you think, oh, I really like this person, you know, they seem really nice, we get on, we're having a good old flirt, there seems to be a bit of chemistry going back and forth, you know, I really kind of like him, I think this could continue. And then, you know, you keep going on more dates, you've seen each other more, and then you start to see people's flaws a little bit more. Then you start to see, you know, what are they really like? Is this what they're going to be like long term? Are they going to keep up this persona, or are they only doing it to try and impress me in the early days? Do you know what I mean? We've all been there in relationships, haven't we? Where you start going out with someone, you think, oh, these are really nice. You know, I really like this person. Like, they've got this, they've got this, they've got that. They're so lovely in all departments. And then you see them for a bit longer, and the facade starts to drop, and you're like, oh, I actually don't like that. I actually don't like this. And you think, you know what, this isn't for me. So Reguilon at the moment, you know, he's just started going out with Man United, and he thinks, I want to impress Man United because I would like to be in this relationship for, you know, I'd like to make this permanent. I'd like to put a ring on it. I'd like to ask, you know, I'd like to make it a permanent deal with Manchester United. And you think, is that going to be able to continue? If you get my analogy there, I think it's quite a good one if I do say so myself. So with Reguilon, it is only early days, you know, 3 games in, 3 dates in. You've got to kind of just see where it goes. But if it continues the way he is, I really do think that he'd be good competition for Luke Shaw at left back, and I do think he's an improvement on Malacia. Let's see what you guys are saying in there. I'd rather wait for Shaw. And Rob Hawke says, I'd be worrying if he signed a new contract that his form drops off like the other wasters. #Glazers out. Well, this is the thing, because what worried me massively when Sergio Reguilon came in is that he looked like he was putting more effort in than everybody else on the pitch, bar like Bruno, because Bruno just always putting effort in. But he looked like he was putting more effort in than everybody else on the pitch. He looked fitter than everybody else. He looked hungrier than everyone else. He looked more passionate than everyone else. And I'm like, how is someone who literally is a Spurs player, who's come in for a few games, looking more passionate, hungry, and levels above a lot of our players, and giving a lot more than a lot of our players? And obviously, you're going to think to yourself, it's because he wants a contract. And when he gets that contract, he might drop off. But, you know, what other alternative? How do we judge him then? Because he's not going to come in and be like, oh, you know what, I'll just play crap and I'll just go back to Spurs. He's obviously going to want to get this move. And like I said, this is the question. Can he do it all the way up until January? Can he do it if we extend his loan all the way up till summer? How much realistically would you want him to be paying for Sergio Reguilon? Like, how much do you pay for him? If he comes in, do you try and offload Malacia? Like, they're the questions that need to be asked, and I want you to get your opinions down in the chat as well, because I don't want to write Malacia off, but Malacia for me has had some really good games, like defensively, but I've just not have seen anything from him in an attacking sense. I've never watched him and thought, God, he's got up and down that line really well, going forward, going backwards, really job well done. Whereas Reguilon, you know, he can sometimes maybe be out of position a little bit on the left, but we've not seen that so far for United. For United, he's been very good, but he gets forward, he takes on his fullback, he drives, he gets crosses into the box, he plays that role Erik ten Hag wants him to play really well, like holding the width, but also coming inside into midfield, chasing down the ball, pressing well. I just think he honestly has really impressed me so far. And I saw Mark last night saying I don't think he's really put over a 7 out of 10 performance in so far. And it's hard to judge because, you know, we've lost 2 of the games he has played and only won 1. But for me, if we were doing the chart show, you know how Mark used to do the chart show when he'd go 1 to 10 over the course of the week, Reguilon would be number 1 for me. And I think in your first few weeks at Manchester United, that's a really good spot to be in. And Ellie said Malacia has barely had a run of games. He has had quite a few games for Manchester United, I can't lie. And Juve says the first job as a defender is to defend. He ain't great at that. I think he's been fine at that so far. And I'm sorry, guys. I mean, everyone can have their own opinions, but for me, at a club like Manchester United playing at the top level, you have to be able to get back and go forward and back. Like, you have to be able to go forward. Like, you just do. Like, you've got to be able to provide something going forward. It's an absolute necessity. It's an absolute necessity. I mean, look at the likes of Trippier, you know, Robertson, Trent. I mean, Trent's not great going backwards, is he? Let's be honest. And that's a different system. Reece James, like, all of the... Udogie now for Spurs, who has obviously replaced Reguilon. All of these players, Pedro Porro, like, you know, look at Arsenal, look at Zinchenko, him going forward. All of the top teams have fullbacks that are good at going forward. Like, look at Bayern Munich, Alphonso Davies. Like, you've got to be able to go forward as well as go backwards. You've got to be technically gifted on the ball. And I actually am very impressed with how Dallow's been handled like the last few games as well. I think if he, you know, keeps the level up, going forwards and defending, I think Dallow's a really, really nice blend. I wish he was just like one more level up at both. Like, I wish he was just a level up it going forward and then maybe a level up at defending. But Dallow's a really kind of perfect combination. I think people write off Dallow's defensive work quite a lot. He's improved massively at it. He's improved massively at it. And if anything, I think his weaker side is probably going forward. He needs to improve it more, but he's better than Wan-Bissaka here. But Dallow's done really well too. For me personally, and everybody sees the game differently, but for me personally, I really like my fullbacks that can get forward and get across into the box and can help the wingers out and can build up in the attacks. And I really like to see someone, and I've seen United players do this a lot recently, where they get on the ball and then they turn back and they don't have the courage to get forward. What I really like about Reguilon is, we've seen it last few games, he'll knock it past a defender and put it in the box. He'll knock it past and have a foot race with you and get it in there. The corner he provided against Burnley that Johnny Evans scored off, I know it was ruled offside because Højlund was offside, but great set piece. And I was saying to the lads on the forum, like, would Malacia ever be trusted to be put on a set piece? I don't think he's got the technical capabilities to do it. And I heard Faz coming back with me, well, he can play CDM and he can play right back. And I want my full back to be able to, like, I want my left back to be able to play left back at the best possible level. Like, Lindelof can play right back as well as centre back. Does that mean he's a better player to have in the squad than Varane? Well, obviously, if you disregard injuries, no. Like, you want your player to be the best in their position. And I'm not writing Malacia off. Obviously, you'll have to see what happens when he comes back from injury. And like I said, with Luke Shaw being able to play it centre back, there's a position that United could be in where they could keep all three. And it'd be really good to kind of have that depth there, especially due to injuries. But I do think Reguilon, if he keeps playing the way he does, at least deserves a shout. And I think, and Postecoglou as well at Spurs would be looking and being like, you know what, Reguilon's doing pretty well at Man United. Maybe they'll want to keep him. What's a price that you'd want for him? We'll talk about prices as well in a second with this one. Charles Van Olsen says Spurs reject or not, he's still better than what we have. I hate this Spurs reject thing. Obviously, you know, he's not been wanted at Spurs, but Udogie is top level. He's great. Like, if anyone watched the North London derby, he got a yellow really early on. He handled it really well, played well for the whole game, was really good against United. Udogie at left back for Spurs, young kid, looks great. So, you know, it's tough to kind of compete. Also, I think Ange will be watching Reguilon now thinking, well, maybe I'd want him back. You know, maybe I'd want him there as a rotational player. Maybe it just didn't work out with him. But Gravenberch was a Bayern Munich reject. Does that mean he's not going to be good for Liverpool? No. I think Gravenberch will be great for Liverpool, and I would have had him at United. There's many players we've got that, you know, there's many players that can go to different teams, and you'll be like, oh, that team, it didn't work in that team. It doesn't mean that they can't work in this team. Like, there's different systems, there's different managers that people adapt to. So I don't think you should just label Spurs reject, which means he shouldn't be playing for us. I can guarantee you, you know, if Malacia went to Spurs, he wouldn't be getting in over Udogie. That doesn't mean that Malacia's not a good player. Like, you look at Wan-Bissaka, he can't even make the England squad with like 4 or 5 left backs, and people will think, well, that's because Southgate's an idiot. And I agree, Southgate is a bit of an idiot, and I don't think he picks the right team. But we still love Wan-Bissaka and we think he's good for us. Like, there's different managers that suit different players better, and it doesn't mean they're a bad player. It just means that they're in a different system and they're liked by different managers, in my opinion. Matt says, I thought Reguilon pulled up with his hamstring on the weekend. Do we know anything about that, or is it just an illness? Well, from what we've heard and from what Ten Hag has told us, with Reguilon, he was ill on the day of the Burnley game, which is why he brought him off. I don't think it was hamstring. Ten Hag didn't mention hamstring in his post-match. He said that Reguilon was ill, but it shows his character that he wanted to play for the team. And again, I respect that so highly. And you're always going to earn brownie points with that. Like, you always are going to. Like, of course Ten Hag's liking him and they're impressed by him. If Reguilon couldn't play against Burnley because he was ill, who would we have played at left back? Genuinely, because Martinez was injured. Would we have thrown Amrabat straight in? Like, we probably wouldn't have won that game because we had no one to play there at left back, genuinely. So the fact that Reguilon kind of played through an illness to play for us, again, is another tick in my book. And people are like, oh, he just wants a contract. You know, it's still a tick in my book. It's earning us points and you're putting your body on the line for the team. And that should be expected at Manchester United, by the way. It should be expected, and I expect people to do that. But for example, you know, say Adam's on holiday, you know, Faz has lost his voice and Mark's away, whatever, and we have no one to do the shows, and I'm like, oh, look, Mark, I'm really ill today. Like, I'm really ill. And he's like, well, Beth, we've got no one to do the shows. And I fight through that and I do all the shows. Mark's going to be like buzzing with that. Like, you've shown you're a team player there. And we really like that. You're going to always get respect for that. So I respect Reguilon for that, in a way. See, we've got a few people in the chat. Levi Leon says, surely Alvaro Fernandez has to start at left back tomorrow night. He's on loan. He's on loan, Levi. We're going to talk about tomorrow night and the team that we'd play and, you know, people that are going to be coming in there as well. Mason Broyley says, have we seen any of our fullbacks chase across the pitch? Again, that's another bonus. You're going to always get a tick in my book for that. And, you know, on the show, The Forum the other night, with a clip of us arguing about, you know, Malacia or Reguilon, Faz and Double A, they were saying, Malacia's 22 and he's got so much potential, whereas Reguilon's 27, he's injury prone. And let me debunk that right now, because I've been doing my little bit of research on that. Malacia is 24, and again, young, can definitely develop, and I still do see a good future for him. I'm not writing him off. But Reguilon is 26. There is 2 years between these two players. Reguilon has played for Spurs, obviously playing for United now, played for Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Sevilla. Do you think, you know, Malacia will go on to play for them sort of teams? I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think just technically Reguilon's a bit better, and it's only 3 games in, so you can't say it by much. And, you know, Malacia might come back in and be an absolute worldie and really progress and start to develop and become what we want him to be and competing for sure, 100%. And I want him to do that. I want my players to do well, and he's such a likeable guy, and I really do kind of get behind like that Liverpool performance, that City performance last season. He was top quality, and I really do think there's a player there. I'm not saying get rid of Malacia, by the way. I'm really not, because Luke Shaw can play left-sided centre-back. I'm just saying there's not really much between them in the sense of when you look at their age differences. Malacia, I thought he was younger than 24. I can't lie. And Reguilon being 26, like, he's literally coming into the prime of his career. I mean, Faz was saying, oh, you know, he's finished, he's 27, he's injury prone. What are you on? He's 26 coming into the prime of his career. It'd be a great time to buy him if he can keep up this form. MPB says, can't believe how quickly people have forgotten about Malacia. He's really impressive in his first season. Feels like recency bias. Was he really impressive in his first season? He had some really good defensive games against the likes of Liverpool and City, and you cannot take them for granted because, you know, we won them games and he was a big part of that. But I don't think he was overly impressive. Let's put it this way: he's never in a million years taken Luke Shaw's spot. Whereas I think Reguilon can compete for it. I really do. If he continues the way he is, and it's a big if. Like I said, 3 dates in. You know, you think that someone's the be all and end all, and then you get into it a little bit more, and the mass starts to drop, and you're like, oh, for God's sake, I don't like this person. So, you know, we've just got to kind of edge with caution, and I think United should not rush into this deal whatsoever. Like I said, I would extend till summer, then look at potentially buying him if he keeps it up. But that derby on the 29th of October is going to be a big one because Luke Shaw won't be back. I doubt Malacia will come in if Reguilon continues playing the way he is, or if he'll even be back from injury. We've not even heard a thing about Malacia's injury recently. So big one for Reguilon is that derby, and he'll earn a lot of fans' respect in that derby if he has a good game. MPB, oh no, I've done that super chat already. And Juve says Shaw at his best, no way Reguilon's taking spot. No, I agree. Shaw at his best is 100% our first choice left back. Shaw at his best is top quality. Shaw at his best for me is one of the best fullbacks in Europe. 100%, and I think we miss him dearly. But I think Reguilon's a good competitor for it. That's what I'm trying to say on that one. Well, we've got over nearly 5,000 votes in the chat. Should Reguilon sign a permanent deal? 54% say no, 46% say yes. So it's really kind of 50-50 on this one. Like I said, we'll have to see how it goes on. What would you want to pay for him? Because I was thinking, and we'll wrap up this Reguilon conversation and move on to the Palace game tomorrow, but I was thinking with Reguilon, with what I would want to pay for him, I think 15 mil. 15 mil is kind of the area I'd be looking at with Spurs. I wouldn't go over it. So I think 15 mil would be a really good target, and it just depends if Daniel Levy would sell him for that. But if the manager doesn't want it in Postecoglou, which he didn't, then surely they'd be like buzzing. We've got 15 mil. We might not have got that if he didn't go out on loan. So I think 15 mil is the price tag that we could be looking at. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the more Reguilon does well, the more these rumours will start to heat up, and we'll get to see like leaks will get put out there. Like Spurs want this much for Reguilon, Man United are willing to pay this much for Reguilon. So we'll start to see them leaks come out, and we can kind of judge it based on that. But I would say 15 mil. Anna's just put in the chat, 50 mil. Are you serious? 15. Sorry about the Manc accent, 15. But yeah, someone said 15.2. Any less than 10? Definitely. I mean, no, I think 15. 15's right. 15's right for me. But let's see how it goes on. We do have Fabrizio Romano on the show today. I'm not sure what time, when it gets confirmed. If it gets confirmed, I'll let you know. But he'll definitely be on at some point today. So we'll ask him about Reguilon and loads of stuff about Erik ten Hag and stuff like that. So make sure you stay tuned for that later on. But let's carry on with the rest of the show. Stick says, why 15 mil for a third string? Right, Beth Arnold. Don't start the Beth Arnold. Do not start the Beth Arnold that Vaz was starting with me. Why 50? He's not third. If we signed him, he wouldn't be third string. Is what I would say to you on that one. But everyone can have their own opinions. Let's move on. So one thing I wanted to bring up really quickly before I talk about the Palace game is, for anyone thinks that Man United ownership isn't as big as a problem as it is, and no United fan thinks that. All United fans know how bad our ownership is and how much it's holding us back and how unfortunate the managers are to have to deal with that ownership while they're in their tenure at Manchester United. Everybody knows it who is a Man United fan. Unfortunately, we do get rival fans saying, they've spent this much money, they're not that bad, you're complaining, you're just making excuses, you lose a few games, you put it on the Glazers. You get rival fans saying that, and it's stupidity. Any United fan knows how bad the Glazers are. But I want to kind of just talk about Chelsea. Chelsea have fallen off an absolute cliff. Like an absolute cliff. Even Domino's was trolling them on Twitter yesterday, saying they've delivered how many pizzas since Chelsea last scored a goal. And they've got 6 wins in 2023. The only team they've beaten is Luton so far in the Premier League. Chelsea are in trouble. Chelsea, not so long ago, was winning Champions Leagues, competing at the top level of the Premier League. Ownership. What is the change? The ownership. And yeah, they might have spent a lot of money, but the ownership isn't right at the top of that club. It's not. And I mean, I'm not saying it's all American owners. It's just coincidence that Todd Boehly is American. But I wouldn't put Todd Boehly in the same bracket as the Glazers, absolutely not. The Glazers are obviously way worse. But this is what bad ownership can get you, and it can literally throw you off a cliff. And that's what's happened with Chelsea. I think a lot of people talking about Pochettino. I am not Pochettino's biggest fan at all. And when it was either Pochettino or Ten Hag, if you guys were watching United Stand back then, you guys would know I was Ten Hag all the way. I did not want Poch, and I'm glad we didn't get him. But I think you chuck any manager into that situation at Chelsea and it's a death wish. I honestly do. Todd Boehly got rid of the whole identity of that Chelsea squad, brought in young players that have no togetherness or identity or have no experience. And yeah, they've got some really good youth prospects there, but he doesn't know what it takes to build a football team and how to build a successful football team in the Premier League. He just doesn't get it. And the Glazers don't get it either. The Glazers are much worse because at least Todd Bowley actually wants Chelsea to do well, and he's passionate about it. And I'm not saying the Glazers don't want us to do well, but they literally, just suck the club dry. And I don't think they care about our success. I really don't. Todd Bowley does. But bad ownership can really derail you. And you look at the Abramovich compared to Todd Bowley and the difference it's made. And I think we really need to put that into perspective, especially when the media are judging Ten Hag. He's dealing with a terrible, terrible ownership. Terrible ownership. And I think, he turned water into wine last year. So far this year, it's not been the greatest start, but he's 100% the man to get behind. And let's just hope new owners come in and Ten Hag's still with us at that point, because I think he will absolutely, be the guy that we want him to be. And new owners are needed, 100%. But I want to just kind of give that reminder to everyone to get behind this manager. So yeah, and also, if anyone's seen, Ajax are literally going to be fighting relegation in the Eredivisie. Like, they are doing terrible. They've fallen off a cliff since Ten Hag left. Another thing that never gets talked about in the media. Ten Hag this, Ten Hag that in the media, vultures circling. Why don't we have a conversation about the fact his Ajax squad has been picked off by all the top teams in Europe, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, all the top teams in Europe have kind of got players from his Ajax squad. Plus, since he's left Ajax, they've fallen off a cliff. And they are doing terribly. So I think Ten Hag, he's got credit in the bank. He needs time. We need to get behind him, and the Glazers need to sell, 100%. Glazers Out says, what's with the new Qatar bid rumours? There's not loads of Qatar bid rumours, to be honest with you. Ben Jacobs did an interview, and he said it's not ruled out that Qatar could bid again. Sheikh Jassim could bid again. And at the moment, there is a stalemate, because what's happening is, basically, the Glazers want more money. They know Sheikh Jassim is very, 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 very rich. And honestly, it's mad to say that like 5 bill, 6 bill is like pocket change for him. He's that rich. So the Glazers are holding out for him to bid again. So there's this kind of stalemate at the minute. And Qatar obviously don't want to up the bid, but they want to buy Manchester United. Honestly, I know it's not worth it, but Sheikh Jassim, please just add an extra billion on there. Do it for us. Because obviously, the Glazers just absolutely, they're so annoying for not taking that money, because he's offering more than what United are worth right now. But that's the situation we're in on that front. I'm sure we'll get more news about it as we're coming up to the January transfer window. Very, very greedy people. Have you seen more greedy people in your life? Honestly. Vibes FC says, Højlund is so good. Wish he had better service. We need to get more service to Højlund. It looks very raw, but I'm really excited by him. I am really excited by him. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Palace game. Get in the chat. Who would you be starting in this Palace game? What would be your starting 11? How seriously do we take this game? Carabao Cup? Massively seriously for me. Massively seriously. Genuinely. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm really not hopeful about top 4. I'm really not. I look at the teams now, and granted it's early on, and you don't want to get too carried away, but obviously City are getting it, and they're going to win the league. Liverpool have gone under the radar. They look very good, and they're probably the only, them and Arsenal look like the teams that are probably going to compete a little with City, but not really. I think City will win the league by January, February, to be honest with you. So City, you've got Liverpool, you've got Arsenal, and then look at Spurs. Look at how well Spurs are doing. And I know it could be new manager bounce, but how likeable is Ange Postecoglou? And you don't want to say it, because Spurs have always notoriously been absolute losers, in my opinion. Bottlers, losers, just not a football team I've necessarily liked, to be honest with you. But I can't help but like him under Postecoglou. Obviously, I don't want him to do well, because I want United to get into top 4, and I want United to kind of, be above them 100%. But Postecoglou's come in and he's doing a very good job. They're playing a style of football, an attacking style of football. Yesterday against Arsenal, they were getting smothered, but they didn't change the game plan and just start booting it long. They stuck to it. They, were playing out from the back. And yeah, Arsenal were on top of them for a bit in that game, but they stuck with it, and they were playing out from the back. They played good football. They went to the Emirates and played good football. And I do start to think to myself, I wish United were doing that. And Postecoglou's only just come in. It's very different managing Spurs to United, and I'm not making an excuse, but it is. Like, obviously, there's so much more pressure and more scrutiny on you when you're at Manchester United. But credit where credit's due, Postecoglou is doing a very good job. He's a very likeable character. I actually think they should have won that game yesterday because that penalty is very dubious. How on earth does the Garnacho one not be a penalty? I know we spoke about this, but VAR is driving me up. It's driving me mad. Let me do my best Ricky impression. Remember when he's against Double A against Elanga? Stop driving me mad. That is me with VAR every weekend. Like, it's driving me up the wall. How can that Romero one be a handball and the Garnacho one not be, when the Garnacho one is much more obvious than the one that we saw yesterday? Like, it's so inconsistent. It's like with the Evans goal being ruled offside. I think it should have been ruled offside. Højlund was in an offside position in front of the keeper. But Ake scored a goal with Akanji being offside. In literally nearly enough the exact same thing. If anything, Akanji's was worse because he was waving his leg out at the keeper to distract him even more. That goal stands, United's one doesn't. It's absolutely frustrating, and it's actually changing results, and I can't stand VAR at the minute. It's really doing my head in. You know what does my head in even more? The fans that go, oh, VAR, Chester United, Man United get all the decisions. No, we don't. No, we don't. We barely get anything. The one thing we've got is that Wolves penalty, and if people don't stop talking about it, it's going to get me annoyed. People will still be talking about that. Say we get a dodgy VAR decision in bloody March next year, they'll be like, well, you know what? You got that penalty opening day of the season against Wolves. Like, that should have been a penalty. Right, things happen, obviously, and yeah, that should have been a penalty. But we've had 4 or 5 decisions since then go against us. Like, even that, there's been so many that has gone against us. I mean, the goal for Newcastle yesterday, that was handballed and looked like it was out of play when Gordon, moves it up the line. For me, there was no difference in where that ball was compared to Rashford's when the Højlund goal got ruled out. But that stayed. Newcastle against Sheffield. There's been so many dodgy decisions. Sorry, just a little bit of rant there because it absolutely does my head in. It really does. And it's like when people say, oh, McTominay's so good, I don't get why he doesn't play for you guys. Watch 90 minutes of United. You might as well tell me you don't watch United play football. If you think United get VAR decisions and you think McTominay's good, they're 2 big red flags that tell me you're chatting rubbish and you don't watch us. You don't watch us play football because you can't physically have them opinions if you do watch us. It's just the way it is. But anyway, AJ says, doesn't it worry that Ange has Spurs playing like this? It does, but I'm not getting ahead of it until it gets to the end of the season and Spurs are still playing like this. Spurs are ahead of us, and then I'll be worried because that shouldn't be happening. Again, it's a bit earlier on, so I don't want to jump to conclusions already and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but Spurs playing this way this early, it does make me question. I'm like, why can't we do that? It does make me question, why can't we do that? But I'm just going to wait and see. I'm just going to wait and see how the season plays out. Drew Forey says, we could do some positivity right now. There are 6 games we should reasonably expect to win, and that takes all the way to 29th of October. We can build a momentum while the other teams play each other. Drew Forey, you are absolutely right. We did have some tough fixtures to start off this Premier League season, and we've got a really good run now. I'm going to speak about that in a second. We'll finish above Spurs, I hope so. A lot of people talking about Brighton as well. Brighton look way better than us. Can you honestly see Brighton finishing below us right now? I can't. I really can't. They're playing much better football than us. Much better. Well better. So there's a lot for Erik ten Hag to do. There is a lot for Erik ten Hag to do. And this is why the Carabao Cup's so important, because I'm not hopeful we get top 4, even top 5. And I'm always positive about United, but just the way we're playing football, and there's so many good teams, I'd be so gutted if we dropped out the Champions League again and we went back to Europa League. I would be so gutted. I really would. But I can't see it right now, and I hope that changes. Champions League, I expect Ten Hag to do well. I really do. He's good at knockout competitions, and it's a competition we have to try and get far into, especially with our poor start to the league. So Champions League, I expect us to definitely get out of the group, and I'd like to see us get to a quarter-final, if I'm being honest with you, in the Champions League. And it's sad that that's where I'm drawing my line at the expectations, but that's where I am. FA Cup and Carabao Cup, competitions we need to be looking at. And that's where we're at. And Paul Scholes said it himself. He said United aren't, United are a cup team, a Carabao Cup and FA Cup team at the moment, and that is where we're at, to be honest with you. And I think about how good that day was in February last year when I went to Wembley, and with the people I usually go to United with, we've got a good little gang of us. We went to Wembley and we had such a good day, and we won that Carabao Cup, and it was such an amazing feeling in the fan base. So to experience that again, I know people say it's only the Carabao Cup. It's still a trophy, and it's a great day for us as supporters, and we need one of them. So I'd like to be able to go far in this. But we have Crystal Palace, who aren't a write-off, at home. Be interested to see how strong the other teams go in this competition this week, because there's really important Premier League games coming up for a lot of people. But luckily for us, we actually do have some people coming back from injury. Mount, I expect to come back in for this game. Amrabat, obviously, we saw him a tiny bit in that Burnley game, but basically nothing because he came on as left back for 5 minutes, so we didn't really see much. So Amrabat's back as well. Varane's back. I don't expect Varane to play. I really don't, and I don't, because you want to protect him for the league. But we'll see what happens. We'll get in the chat what you guys think. Bayern Dare. The keeper that Erik ten Hag really wanted, he was monitoring him in his Ajax days and wanted to bring him to Ajax. Bayern Dare, the keeper that we got from Fenerbahce, is going to start against Palace. And I'm going to be really interested to see how he plays. Because obviously Onana took a little bit of heat towards the start of the season. Absolutely Onana's number one. But I'll be really interested to see how Bayern Dare plays, and it'll be good to see him get his debut. Colin Felix says, if Chelsea are relegated, can we get their players? Seriously, I know it sounds mad to say, but when do we consider Chelsea relegation? Have you seen their fixtures? They are honestly it's like suicidal. It's like all of the top teams, like so many top teams. I don't see them winning a game in the next 6. Like Chelsea are lucky that Luton and Sheffield United are absolutely garbage. Seriously, I mean it's crazy, really. I want to get up Man United's next run of fixtures as well. In here so we can see them. So Mount and Maguire are supposed to be available for tomorrow, everyone. That's good because I think Maguire will play. I honestly think Maguire will play, and I think Lindelof needs a rest. Would you play Maguire and Evans? Is that too... I mean, Evans did really well, didn't he, against Burnley? So Bayern Dare will start. Right back, you have to play Dalot because we don't have anybody else. So Dalot and Reguilon, get in for a tough ride because you're the only fullbacks we have available. Dalot has to play right back. Centre backs, I expect to see probably Evans and Maguire, or Maguire and Lindelof. That's what I expect. I expect either Maguire and Lindelof or Maguire and Evans. Martinez won't play because he's injured and they're kind of just making sure he's going to be all right. Varane won't play because you just shouldn't risk him in this game. So I think Lindelof needs a rest. I would play Maguire and Evans, but it's just it's to say I would play Maguire and Evans is honestly crazy to me. But we've got no other option. Left back, Reguilon. Midfield, I expect to see a midfield 3 of Amrabat, Mason Mount. Don't know if he'll be able to come straight back in. And we all know Bruno Fernandes is going to play. Bruno Fernandes is going to play this game. He plays every single game for Manchester United and he's captain. So it'll be Amrabat, Mount on Bruno, or it might be Amrabat, Eriksen and Bruno. Maybe McTominay will get thrown in there, we'll see. Hannibal even, does Hannibal deserve a start? God, it's actually very interesting to think about it. The midfield is the hardest one to call. The hardest one to call. We'll go back to the midfield. Front 3, I expect Garnacho, Martial and Pellistri. Rashford has to be rested for this game. He has to be. The guy... I'm so glad he's okay, but he's just been in a car crash. He's played 90 minutes for the last 3 weeks. He needs to be rested, and I think it'll do him good. Garnacho deserves a chance. Martial needs some minutes in his legs. Just keep it moving. And Pellistri, I think, deserves to play this game and kind of, this is a game for Garnacho, Martial and Pellistri to all try and impress Erik ten Hag to work their way into the starting 11. Martial came on at Bayern Munich, had a brilliant cameo. Like to see a little bit more of that. Garnacho's minutes have been depleted massively over the last few weeks compared to usual. Think he needs a good game in him to kind of get himself back in front of Erik ten Hag's eyes and get him in the front of his mind. And Pellistri as well could do with a good game. So that's my front 3. But, A lot of people thinking Amrabat might start at left back. Wouldn't put it past Ten Hag. Would not put it past Ten Hag one bit. But these are the midfield options, and you guys can vote for like your midfield three, or like just put it in the chat because it'd be too long to kind of make a poll about it. So these are the midfield options we have fit and available now for us. Casemiro, Amrabat, McTominay, Donny Evans, sorry Donny van der Beek, Eriksen, Bruno, Mount and Hannibal. So they're all the midfield options we have. We also have, Dangor as well, who is like, in and around the first team, but I don't think it's going to quite make... I think they're all ahead of him. And then you've got injured, you've got Kobe Minu, obviously, who will be coming back into that as well. So we actually have quite a lot of midfielders available right now. Going into the Carabao Cup game, what midfield three do you start? I think Amrabat has to play because, he needs to get his match fitness up. He's not played a game in so long. He's just come back in for Manchester United. Would hate him to start his Manchester United career playing as fullback, and then everyone gets on his back like, oh, he's not even good. Thank God we've got him on loan because you've been seeing him play fullback when he's not a fullback. So I think Amrabat has to play. I think if Mount is fit enough, he has to play as well. £60 million signing, number 7 shirt. We want him to come back into this. We want him to get match sharp. This is a good game to get his match fitness up. And then we all know Bruno Fernandes is going to play. Like, Bruno will play this game. I have no doubts about it. If he doesn't, I'll be shocked. I'll be very shocked. But if he didn't play, who would you have in there? Would you have Hannibal? Would you have Donny? Would you have McTominay? Would you have Eriksen? Eriksen obviously didn't play against Burnley, so it makes me think Eriksen might play because he's not played against Burnley. Maybe he was resting him there. Interesting stuff to talk about. We could have Amrabat, Mount and Eriksen. That could be an option, but I don't think there's enough legs in there. I don't think there's enough firepower. Bruno Fernandes brings the firepower. I'd probably play Hannibal, maybe. It's an interesting one. Get in the comments what you guys have done. Do you know what? Some people think, Crystal Palace twice in a row, bit of a snooze fest. I don't think it is a snooze fest because, one, nothing's ever a snooze fest with Man United because we're so invested in it. But Carabao Cup, the reason why I'm excited to that tomorrow night, not only because I'm in exec with Ricky, which buzzing about that, but no, not only because of that, because I get to watch players that we haven't seen for a bit, or we're only just coming in. I get to watch Bayern Dare play. I like my keepers. I'd be excited to see him. I get to see Amrabat play. I probably get to see Mount play. I get to see Garnacho and Palestri. I get to see players that I don't regularly see good chunks of football play tomorrow. And I really hope they go out there with the intention to go and impress Erik ten Hag and give Erik ten Hag a real big thing to think about going into the Premier League game on Saturday against Palace, because there's some players there that need to be able to get themselves into that first team. I mean, Garnacho needs more minutes. I think Palestri should get more minutes. Mason Mount is big question marks over him. Big game for him if he does come back in. So I'm really excited for the game tomorrow for that reason, just to kind of see players we've not really seen. We've been seeing, Rashford and Bruno and, Casemiro and these players loads, and, love these players, but I want to kind of see our other players, see if they can step up to the plate. And it's a game that we should win tomorrow. Crystal Palace in the cup, we should win it. So I'm excited to see kind of them players play. Also, on Saturday, what I'm excited for is we have to win. And I'll be very interested to see how Erik ten Hag sets up at Old Trafford against Crystal Palace. A team that we should be beating, especially at Old Trafford. What's his game plan going to be? I think he has to go at them. Obviously, against Burnley, we kind of just defended, let them have possession and took the points. That's away from home. At home against Crystal Palace, I think you have to kind of go at them, and I'll be interested to see, does anyone from the Palace game in the Cup manage to stake their claim in the starting 11? Can we build on that Burnley win and actually, get some points on the board again? We have to beat Palace. It's only one win. If we get even a draw against Palace, again, the vultures are back out and we're all sat here thinking, God, why have we not won this game? So 2 must-win games this week. So it's a huge week for Erik ten Hag and this team. A lot of test over character. I just want to get through this week with Reguilon and Dalot still fit, if I'm being honest with you, and not lose any more players. The last thing we want is to lose any more players. We want Varane to stay fit. We want Reguilon and Dalot to stay fit because they're only fullbacks we have. You've got to get a lot of fingers crossed this week as well, because it's a lot of games that players are playing, and this whole 10 minutes added on at the end of games really isn't helping with that. Enjoy Wrighton says, hi Beth, winnable games on the way. And yeah, just to kind of finish off the show, I want to talk about our next few fixtures. So we've got tomorrow, Palace in the Cup. We've got then Palace at 3 o'clock, classic 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. We will be there. Again, in the Premier League, we've then got Galatasaray, first home game of the Champions League. Old Trafford will be absolutely buzzing. We've not been in the Champions League, obviously. It's been over a year now. We need to win this game. Galatasaray at home, we've got to win it. Just lost to Bayern Munich, we've got to win it. The crowd will be pumped up. Brentford at home, we have to win that. Brentford are a good side, but we're Man United. We have to win Brentford at home. Sheffield United away. If we can't win that game, they've just got pumped 8-0 by Newcastle. We have to win Sheffield United away. I don't even know, is the manager like on the line of Heckingbottom? Is he on the line of potentially getting sacked? Could that happen? Knowing us, he'll get sacked right before that game and we'll have a bit of a new manager bounce. But again, a game we have to win. Then we've got Copenhagen at home in the Champions League. You know, Højlund's brother coming back. Copenhagen, we've got to win. And then 29th of October, to finish off the October month, it is City at home in the derby. It's going to be a good month. Well, if United make it one, this could be a game-changing month for United. It really could. We win all of them games, right, bar the City one. I expect United to win every single one of them games by the City one. I expect us to beat Palace twice. I expect us to beat Galatasaray. I expect us to beat Brentford. I expect us to beat Sheffield United. I expect us to beat Copenhagen. They are not high expectations. We are Manchester United. We have to be winning all them games. We get a good spell of form under our belts. We gain momentum. You know, hopefully injuries start to come back. Kobe Mainoo and, you know, Luke Shaw's maybe on his way a little bit more then. And then you go into the City game at home with the crowd massively behind you. We always are. But with all of them games behind you and wins, if we win them all, the crowd are massively behind you. And I think United then, you know, who knows what we're capable of. We beat City at home last year. I mean, even getting a draw out of that game would be a good result for us. And then you look at October and you think, wow, Man United have really kind of started to turn this around and everyone's in a better place and everyone's feeling a lot better about themselves. Like, we get all them points on the board. You go into City with a really good atmosphere behind you, some confidence. And I think, you know, you can really kind of give something in that game. You really can. So I'm motivated. I'm up for it. And this is the start of a really kind of important period for Man United, and we've got to win both of these games this week. Take it game by game, get the wins, and that's how we've got to keep going on it. We've got to put them losses behind us and move on and get some wins under our belt. But everyone, like I said, get behind this manager, get behind the players. Really like the Instagram Hannibal put on, actually. It was like fighting together as staff, as a team, as a club, with you behind us to get the win. Like, I think this team is together still. The manager has the dressing room and the fans are behind the manager massively, and that's the way it should be. So let's win against Palace tomorrow night. Let's win at the weekend as well. And yeah, hopefully we get some good news regarding injuries coming back. And we do have Fabrizio Romano on the show today. We will have a time confirmed for you soon, but make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll be asking him about Reguilon, about Erik ten Hag, about the situation with Sancho. You know, we'll be asking all the questions that you guys want to know. Thank you everyone for contributing in the chat this morning. Really, really good show, and always good to have that back and forth. You know, the poll's still going, over 7,000 votes. Should Reguilon sign on a permanent deal? You have spoken. 53% say no, 47% say yes. We'll have to see how it goes on, but it's good to kind of see what everyone thinks on that. It's good to have a little debate on it. But everyone, thank you for watching. Have a lovely rest of your Monday. Like the video on your way out, and we will see you on the next one.